Don't get your money to work for you. You already knew that working for money won't get you ahead, but getting your money to work for you won't build wealth either. You can build real wealth ethically by getting other people's money to work for you 3 ways at the same time. And you can do this without credentials, without buying any course, without having to understand anything complex or esoteric. This is how you really get ahead and create true financial freedom. I'll show you next. Hi, I'm Keith Weinhold, Get Rich Education founder, Forbes Real Estate Council member, best-selling author, and longtime real estate investor. Getting your money to work for you, that does not work because that's, say, all that the S&P 500 does. Your real return from that is 0 when you subtract out inflation, emotion, taxes, fees, and volatility. That's why people who invest in retail stocks and mutual funds, well, they have to end up working until they're old. Now, I do think that contributing to a 401k type plan up to the employer match amount, that's okay because you're sort of using other people's money there, the employers, but that's just one way. The way that you can ethically employ other people's money 3 ways simultaneously is to simply buy an income-producing property with a loan. So learn why this doesn't take a lot of money, more about what rate of return you could expect, how you don't have to be a landlord or a flipper, I'm not either of those things, and where to start. And it is just strategically buying and holding the right property in the right areas that are either brand new build or they're already renovated. It's exactly what I'm doing. I live it. Now, by owning income property with a loan, how exactly do you benefit from getting returns on not only your money, but other people's money 3 ways at the same time? Well, first, it's by using the bank's money for leverage. We'll look at that. Second, by using the tenant's money to pay your property expenses, plus put a little cash flow, residual income into your hands most months ethically because you're providing good housing. And the third way you're using other people's money is with the government's money for generous tax incentives at scale. You don't have to pay tax on all of your rent income, and you never ever have to pay capital gains tax on the appreciation of your assets. So those are the 3 ways: the banks, the tenants, and the governments. Residential is where you want to be with work from home trends and with the housing shortage. So let's talk about apartment buildings and single family rental properties and compare those two, some pros and cons of each here. And perhaps the most obvious advantage of apartment buildings is their economies of scale. I love apartments. A 12-unit apartment building only has 1 roof to maintain and 1 insurance policy to maintain. I mean, 12 single family homes, they would have 12 of those things to maintain. But even longtime investors often overlook some of the advantages that single-family rental properties do have over apartments. So let me share some of those with you. Now, I started off with my first 2 investment properties, both being 4-plex buildings. And then after that, I added larger apartment buildings and single-family rental properties as well, and I still buy and own single-family rentals. So let me tell you why I love them. They might have the best risk-adjusted return anywhere. I mean, even through 2008's Great Recession, those that bought single-family homes for cash flow persevered. I did invest through that time. Really, first, it's tenant quality. Single-family rentals attract a better quality of tenant, and they take better care of the premises. Secondly is neighborhood. Single-family homes tend to be in a better neighborhood than apartment buildings. Third is appreciation. Single families appreciate better over time. Fourthly, there's the advantage of school districts. Single-family homes are more likely to be in a better one. Fifthly, there's retention. Tenants stay longer, creating less vacancy expense, and really the neighborhood and the school district are the reasons that they stay. Next is common areas. Single-family rentals don't have any common areas to clean and maintain. Apartments have hallways, stairs, laundry rooms, and common outdoor grounds that a custodian needs to service. And this is another overlooked profit drag that apartment investors miss on their profit and loss projections. I mean, I missed that expense on my first apartment buy. Seventh is utilities. In single-family rentals, tenants pay all of the utilities and even care for the lawn. And the larger the apartment building is, the more likely that you'll be the one paying utility costs. Then there's divisibility. What if you've got property that's underperforming? Well, if you have 10 single-family rentals, you can sell the 1 or 2 that are underperforming. And with a 10-unit apartment building, you either need to keep it all or sell it all. It's not divisible. What about problems like fire and pestilence? Well, these things are more easily controlled in single-family rentals. Even if you're adequately insured, these diffuse conditions, they can often spread and affect multiple units and families in apartment buildings. And the next one is huge. Financing. Income single-family rentals have both lower mortgage interest rates and lower down payment requirements than apartments do. You can secure 10 single-family rental loans single and 20 married at the best rates and terms through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac with 20 to 25% down payments. And apartments rarely ever have 30-year fixed-rate terms like single-family rentals do, or there's often a balloon payment in there. And by the way, this is what started bringing down a lot of apartment investors beginning around 2023 when their rates reset higher, interest rates doubling or more. Next is vacancy rate. It's true that if your single-family rental's vacant, your vacancy rate is 100%. If your fourplex, say, has a vacancy, then your vacancy rate's only 25%. But the same thing is true if you own single-family rentals, 4 of those, and 1 is vacant. The next one's property management. If you hire professionals for that like I do, I mean, I don't want tenants contacting me directly. I'm doing this to build a better lifestyle for myself. See, your manager would rather deal with quality single-family rental residents, higher quality. If you're self-managing, this is a demographic that you would likely rather handle yourself as well. And by owning yourself, but using a manager, you can control the property, which is good, without having the day-to-day headaches. How about supply and demand? There aren't enough low-cost single-family rentals that make the best rental types. This is where demand vastly exceeds supply. That's going to continue in both the short and the medium term. Market risk is another overlooked criterion. You must keep your properties filled with rent-paying tenants that have jobs. If you think you'll be able to buy, say, 10 rental units in the near future, well, your 10-unit apartment building is only going to be in one location, leaving you exposed to just one geography's economic fortunes. But instead, with 10 single-family rentals that you build up over time, you could have 4 in Central Florida, 3 in Dallas, and 3 in, say, Memphis. Turnkey real estate investing in today's technology, it makes it simple for you to own real estate outside your home area where you usually get the best deals. That's where I own all of mine across the nation. How about your exit strategy? Begin with the end in mind. Years down the road when it's time to sell your income property, hopefully after years of handsome profits, there's a greater buyer pool for your single-family rental than your apartment building. More buyers can afford the lower price. Unlike apartments, you even have access to a pool of buyers that might want to occupy the single-family rental themselves. It might even be your current tenant that buys the property from you. So single families have greater liquidity. And professional management, that is another reason that single-family rentals can make sense, because they can be spread all over a metro area diffusely. But if you self-manage, well, then you're making a lot of little trips. But by using a professional manager, they have to manage these scattered sites. And managers don't charge you much more to handle your single-family rentals than they do your apartment buildings. So there were a ton of advantages, a good 15 or more of them there, advantages that single-family rentals have over apartment buildings. And it's important that I discuss them because a lot of investors don't factor those things in, even veteran investors. And again, I really like apartment buildings too. They might be my second favorite to single-family rentals. Before we look at where the great opportunity is in the market today, and I even show you 2 real properties. Now, this is about to get fun. What sort of rate of return can you expect from owning an income property with a loan, this other people's money advantage that I'm talking about. And first, you don't have to, but put a like on the video if you like how I'm breaking it down here. I'd really appreciate the like. All right, we'll say you put a 25% down payment with closing costs on a $300K property, and after a year you get 5% appreciation, which is what I expect nationally this year. All right, well then your $300K property would be worth $315K, but here's the thing. You only put $75K into the deal. Your $15K of appreciation divided by your $75K down payment is a 20% return on that down payment. How did that happen? It's because you got both the 5% return on your $75K down payment and the $225K borrowed from the bank. That entire return is yours, not the bank's. And see, that's the power of leverage, other people's money. On top of that 20%, if you get $3K of annual profit, that being the tenant rent minus property expenses called cash flow, that's another 4% return typically. Your tenant is paying down your principal for you, an advantage that you don't have in your own home. That's about another 4% per year. We're now up to a 28% total return. There's more. With the tax depreciation benefit that the government gives you, again, other people's money, they give you that on your $300K building and your lot. Well, it might be a $225K value for the building alone. So you get to write off about 3.6% of that value annually, just the building, not the land. That's $8,100. At the 35% tax bracket, that's another $2,835. That's your tax savings. Divide that by your $75K that you've got into it. There's almost another 4%. Now you're up to a 32% total return. And then the last one, inflation debases your $225K debt at, say, 3% per year. That's another $6,750 and another 9%. This projection is a 41% total rate of return on a property that we are about to look at here. And only a projection. You might do better than that. You might do worse than that. And you know, it sounds a little ludicrous to say 41% out loud, but most people don't know how to calculate a real estate return, where all the profit sources are, and consider that you are using other people's money 3 ways. I mean, this is how you really get ahead, and this is what our coaches help you with here, finding properties conducive to this for free at gremarketplace.com. Today's real opportunity is in brand new build properties. In the grand bazaar of the housing market, new build homes, they've kind of been the shy newcomers, sort of peeking out from behind the curtain at just 13% of the total for sale real estate market historically. But the tables have turned today at 26%. I mean, new build homes are dazzling. Their share of the market constitutes twice the industry norm. See, what happened is when mortgage rates moved up drastically back in 2022 and 2023, existing owners clung to their rock bottom rates like a dog clutching their favorite chew toy. Well, home builders stepped in with supply. This new build proportion, it should slowly fall and normalize. Resale supply should inch its way higher, regaining back some of the ground that it lost to home builders. And look, this will be especially true if home builders dial back new housing starts. If rates stay higher longer, builders have to pay higher rates too. All right, well, what else would this mean if that happened? Well, you guessed it. Yep, lower available housing supply and more upward pressure on home prices. But look, for the time being, some areas in Texas and Florida have overbuilt with new homes. Take advantage of this. Within an overall underbuilt market, they've overbuilt, and these builders are willing to cut you a deal, even buying your mortgage rate down into the 6s, 5s, and even 4.75% with one home builder that we're working with now that we'll look at. So this is an opportune time to own new build properties with these generous interest rate buy downs from a builder. Let's make it real and actionable. Here's just a quick sample of 2 properties that our GRE investment coaches connect you with, and it's always totally free to talk to our coaches, a single family rental and a duplex. Take a look at this new build single family home in Palm Coast, Florida. The cost is $289,900. Rent is projected at $2,100, 3 beds, 2 baths, 1,211 square feet with garage, great looking kitchen, durable finishes all around. I mean, this is the kind of place where a tenant would stay for years. It's going to take a 20% down payment, but we do have access to newly renovated, not new build, but also newly renovated single family rentals with prices as low as $120K, and it only takes a 20% down payment on those, a low cost of entry. And lastly, now this is really exciting. In Inverness, Florida, a new build duplex at $420K. Rent is projected at $2,830. The size is 2,104 square feet total. 2 beds and 2 baths on each side of the duplex. The builder is giving a 4.75% fixed interest rate. Yes, they'll buy down the rate for you on this duplex and a few others like it. They're also giving you 3 months of rent guarantee protection, meaning if somehow your duplex was vacant for 3 months, they'll pay you the rent. And also 1 year of free property management. Now, when you think of Florida, you're thinking about some good things and some bad things, right? I mean, you're thinking about a lot of in-migration, which is great for occupancy and long-term rising rents. People keep moving there decade after decade. But you might be thinking about high insurance premiums. But no, insurance on new builds is low. They're built to today's stringent hurricane standards. The duplex insurance is projected at just $1,155 per year. Your maintenance costs should be low too when it's new build. I mean, everything is brand new. And you can also expect a higher quality tenant and builder warranties on components, all with that great 4.75% rate buy down. Some people have climate change concerns. Inverness is 20 miles inland and 50 feet above sea level. I mean, just about everything that you can think of checks out. And I'd really like to say something I don't say very often, perhaps not quite often enough. If you want to benefit from all these wealth building forces, you need to own more property or get started with your first property. And uncertainty, that is just a condition that never completely abates. In a sense, the future's already here. We've got substantially more economic and political certainty than we've had in recent years. The presidency was decided a while ago peacefully. Recession fears have abated. The Fed, after screwing up with high inflation, has now engineered a soft landing, meaning we have lower inflation with high employment. Now is a good time. What about real estate prices? I'll tell you something about that. My entire investor life, every single property that I've ever bought, every single one without exception, felt kind of aggressively priced at the time. And then typically when just a year or two goes by, it already looks like a good decision in the rear view mirror. So I'd like to encourage you to actually do something and do something else in this era. If you can swing it, buy a new build property. They usually cost more, maybe $300K for a rental single family home. But be sure to own more property either way, existing or new, especially with these mortgage rate buydowns that builders are willing to do in the 6s, 5s, 4s. And our GRE investment coaches can make this real for you, totally free. They learn your goals. They talk to you about these properties or others, or even help you decide that there might be no property or geography that's just right for you right now. And we've got access to properties in investor advantage markets in Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Oklahoma, Florida, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Arkansas, and more. From gremarketplace.com, just click on the free investment coaching area. I'm Keith Weinhold. This should really help you out. I'll see you next time. You can watch this one next.